Hey, good morning, friends. Pastor Johnson here with our Tuesday morning devotion. As we continue with our conversations with Jesus, we come to a very famous conversation this week where Jesus was talking to Pilate, brought before Pilate by the Jewish people because they were not allowed to execute anyone. And Pilate has it's actually a 2-chapter interaction with him. In John 19, though, that interaction looks like this. Then Pilate took Jesus and had him flogged. The soldiers twisted together a crown of thorns and put it on his head. They clothed him in a purple robe and went up to him again and again, saying, "Hail, King of the Jews," and they slapped him in the face. Once more, Pilate came out and said to the Jews gathered there, "Look, I am bringing him out to you to let you know that I find no basis for a charge against him." When Jesus came out wearing the crown of thorns and the purple robe, Pilate said to them, "Here is the man." As soon as the chief priest and their officials saw him, they shouted, "Crucify, crucify." Pilate answered, "You take him and crucify him. As for me, I find no basis for a charge against him." The Jewish leaders insisted, "We have a law, and according to that law, he must die because he claimed to be the Son of God." When Pilate heard this, he was even more afraid, and he went back inside the palace. "Where do you come from?" he asked Jesus. But Jesus gave him no answer. "Do you refuse to speak to me?" Pilate said. "Do you realize I have power either to free you or crucify you?" And Jesus answered, "You have no power over me if it were not given to you from above. Therefore, the one handing me over to you is guilty of a greater sin." And from then on, Pilate tried to set Jesus free. This is a powerful conversation for so many reasons. And I look forward to really opening it up on Sunday and studying it throughout the week. But a couple of things I think are worth our reflection this morning. Number one is the absolute innocence of Jesus. If you go back, and you'll have time today, you can listen to or you can read John 18 and 19. We will see that Jesus is arrested, that Peter denies him, the high priest questioned him, and Jesus tells everyone the truth. He says, "I am the Son of God. In fact, that makes me the King of the Jews." And he's absolutely speaking the truth, and he's absolutely innocent of every charge they lay at his feet. In one of the gospel accounts, they say they began to contradict themselves. They were making up stories to have him found guilty, and so they were lying. And Jesus is absolutely innocent. And Pilate, on 2 occasions, first, in chapter 18, he says, "Take him yourselves and judge him by your own law. I find nothing wrong with him. I find him to be innocent." And then in this chapter, he says, Pilate tried to set Jesus free. Pilate also said, "I find no basis to charge him in Roman law," because Jesus was absolutely innocent. Jesus is the only innocent man who ever lived. And I don't mean that simply in terms of a court of law. His innocence, his purity, his righteousness, which we lack. We've all told a lie. Probably as a 3-year-old, we've all taken a toy that wasn't ours. We've all thought bad thoughts about our neighbor or about someone, not necessarily a neighbor. We've all seen in ourselves that lack of innocence, that lack of righteousness, not in the extreme sense, but even in the small sense, but not in Jesus. Jesus was absolutely innocent. He was the Son of God. He is the Son of God. He's the King of the Jews. The second thing we see here is people's absolute hatred of Jesus. People are not neutral about Jesus. It's a chilling passage, and TV shows can often, in this case, do it more justice. As soon as the chief priest and their officials saw him, even though they knew they were lying, they knew they had contradicted themselves, and we're told earlier, they knew he was doing actual miracles, but they did not want him to continue doing those miracles in case people believed in the miracles. They shouted, "Crucify, crucify him," because that's how Romans put people to death. Jesus' absolute innocence means that people absolutely hate him because what he represents to them is their own lack, their own guilt, their own unrighteousness. Pilate is afraid. From then on, Pilate tried to set Jesus free because the Jewish leaders kept shouting, crucify him. And Pilate was afraid. Why? Because Jesus was absolutely innocent. And we're absolutely guilty. And only he can take away, because of his absolute innocence, our absolute guilt. I hope you have a good week. I look forward to seeing you in the future.